Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell. I am joined by Noah Fleischman, and we are in Orlando, Florida, after a rather long drive down I-95. If you are listening to this and already made that drive, I'm sorry. And if you are planning on making that drive at any time between now, Wednesday morning, and game time tomorrow, I'm sorry. It was a miserable 12-hour journey for us. I hope traffic is better for all of you. But we hope to provide you a little bit of entertainment in the time that you make that trek down if you're listening on your drive. Um, Obviously, we're here to preview the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It's a big one. 10th win on the line for NC State football in a ranked matchup against number 25 Kansas State. Both teams are in town. We just spoke to both head coaches today, and we're going to break down everything we heard from them, all the buzz around the bowl, who's playing, who's not, because college football it's a wild time now. Noah, who knows? Which stars from both teams are playing well. We have a full list here. We'll break it down and recap all the big storylines going into this game. But before we do so, I wanted to just mention that we're both writers for the Wolfpacker.com. That is NC State's site on the On3 network. So go check it out. It's only $1 right now to join our site for 1 month of premium access. That includes recruiting scoops, portal visit notes. We have notes on 2 key linemen visiting in a couple weeks. Very important visits to watch out for. And then, full team basketball and football coverage all on one site, thewolfpacker.com. Go check it out. Again, it's only $1 to join right now. So it doesn't get much better than that in terms of a deal. All right, let's dive into it, Noah. Kansas State versus number 18 NC State. The Wolfpack finished the year in the college football playoff top 25, and now they have a chance to make program history. They could be the first team in NC State history to finish with exactly 10 wins. Noah, just first impressions on Kansas State, on the bowl game, Orlando, Florida. Just how are you feeling, man?
Feeling great, other than, our miserable time in the car, especially in South Carolina. I mean, I think it's time for South Carolina to change their roads. But, otherwise, it's been a great experience so far here in Orlando. We had, a fun night when we got to the hotel last night. Today's been off to a hot start with the press conference this morning. We'll head to the stadium in a little bit after we're done recording this. So I'm excited to get over there too. And it's a fun experience here in Orlando in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, the inaugural edition of the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which is always, a fun time. And the trophy I think the trophy is even more glorious in person than it is in pictures.
Absolutely.
When it's sitting right in front of you with the Pop-Tarts on top, like you can't ask for anything else.
Yeah, I think for those curious and or maybe haven't seen the trophy yet, it's typical like football trophy has the silver football at the top, and then you have it's a toaster, so you have the little slots to put Pop Tarts in. I think it's either like a strawberry or a cherry Pop Tart in the trophy. So hey, that red, it's a good indicator for Wolfpack fans, and we got to see it in person today. It's a cool trophy. It would be a cool addition to the Murphy Center if NC State can leave with a win. But we're gonna do the same thing that we do every single preview week, but we're gonna do this with a bowl edition. And I want to start with who's not playing. So for NC State, obviously the big name that they will be missing is Peyton Wilson. This is our first episode since we learned that Peyton Wilson will not be playing in the bowl game. And I mean, it goes without saying, him not playing, the impact of that is immeasurable. But I mean, you're losing his 100 plus tackles, his ACC top 5 tackles for loss total. He's an elite player, obviously best defensive player in the country. So missing him will hurt. But no, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what the NC State linebacker rotation will look like on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, pretty similar to what they ran before, Devon Betty being in there already. And then you're just going to slide Caden Fordham, into the Peyton Wilson spot, I think, which is going to be really, really fun to watch. Dave DeLorme talks about it today a little bit. He's excited to see Caden Fordham get an opportunity to play a lot of snaps. He's going to be in Peyton Wilson's role, which is really fun. Jalen Scott obviously will be out there with the trio and make up that linebacking core in this defense. But you look at that, you're like, cool. And then you're like, okay, who's sliding in the Caden Fordham spot? It's a freshman, Calvin McBride, who hasn't played at all this year. He hasn't played a single snap in a game. Looks good in practice. They've gotten him some run, during these last 15 practices heading into the bowl. Dave Dorn's really excited about him. He's added, I think, 25 pounds of muscle
Yeah.
into his body. Dave Dorn said he looks good. He's running good. They're excited to see what he's got. And the bonus of being able to play in the bowl game. I mean, it doesn't affect him. He didn't play in a single game this year, but some of these guys that will played in 4 games. You can still play in this game in redshirt, which is a big important thing. And Dave Dorn talked about the developmental part of this game, and I think we're going to see it a lot, especially in Calvin McBride, who hasn't played in a single game, not even on special teams, and he'll be able to get some rotational snaps at linebacker, which is going to be fun, exciting, and with him and Caden Fordham stepping in, it's kind of the future. You're going to get a glimpse of the future of this NC State defense with those 2 guys in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, ever since they really arrived on campus, we've heard some positive buzz around both McBride and Kamal Bonner, another true freshman who's really been in the two deep for pretty much the entire season. He's someone that I'm personally excited to see maybe get some snaps in the game against the Wildcats this week because they're both players who in high school they were really safeties. They were playing more of a safety role at their respective schools, and they arrive at NC State, and they're already these super athletic linebackers, and then they've clearly clicked with Tony Gibson's coaching well because we've heard some great things about both of them. I think they're going to be 2 really good players, and I know it's bad news for Wolfpack fans, and people are bummed that Peyton's not going to be playing. But you like you said, it's the future. It's going to be exciting to see the young guys get in there and make some plays. And you put Caden Fordham into the starting lineup. I mean, he's been billed as like the Peyton Wilson successor for a little while. So let's see how he does against a physical running offense, one of the best offenses in the Big 12. It'll be really interesting to see how he steps up into that moment because, as we know, Tony Gibson's scheme puts so much stress on those linebackers, asks them to do a lot. So it'll be exciting to see how that core comes together on Thursday. And other than that, I think we have to focus on Kansas State here because if you think NC State has been impacted by the transfer portal and opt-outs and stuff like that, Kansas State, let me run through the list here. First, probably the biggest name, a name that NC State fans were probably familiar with for a little bit during the portal season, is quarterback Will Howard. Starting signal caller, star quarterback, 2,643 passing yards, 24 passing touchdowns, another 351 rushing yards, and 9 rushing touchdowns this season. He's not going to play. He is in the transfer portal. He is considering the likes of USC and Ohio State and the NFL draft right now. So we will not see him on the field. And we'll get to his replacement, Avery Johnson, in a minute. But they have a good option to start in his place. Then you have running back Trayshawn Ward, 643 rushing yards this season, 5 touchdowns. He's not their best running back, but he is a critical part of their rushing offense that ranks so highly in the Big 12. And then you're missing, defensive backs like Kobe Savage, 57 total tackles, 3 interceptions. Cornerback Will Lee, 42 tackles, 2 interceptions, 6 defended passes. And then you flip back over to the offensive side of the ball, and you have Phillip Brooks, 589 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, and then Ben Sinnott, 49 receptions, 676 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. Those are their 2 leading receivers. And then you combine that with they are also missing their offensive coordinator, Colin Klein, who is headed to Texas A&M. Noah, when you look at this, expansive list of, production that's just not going to be out there on Thursday, does it change at all just how you look at this game and how you view NC State's shot against one of the Big 12's top programs?
Yeah, it does. I think it should change anybody's, outlook on this game. Obviously, a first career start for Avery Johnson. He did, Chris Kleiman kind of joked about it. He did start a game this year when they had both quarterbacks on the field the first play of the game. But this will be his first true start. He's going to play the whole game. It's going to be interesting to see with him and what Tony Gibson tries to do, right? A lot of good defensive coordinators in the country can mess around with a young quarterback. That's what their goal is. They're going to try to confuse him and do different things. I think Tony Gibson, given 3 weeks to prepare, he's going to come up with something special. So I think that definitely does. The line hasn't changed. It's 2.5 in favor of Kansas State, which is interesting because of the amount of guys that are leaving or not
Yeah.
playing today or tomorrow in Orlando. it's going to be interesting. I do think NC State has the edge. We're going to talk about predictions, I'm sure, in the second half of the show. But NC State playing with almost its entire roster. It's missing two starters, Peyton Wilson and
Mhm.
CJ Clark. Everybody else is on the field going to play, which is a good thing. Some people were worried about Brennan Armstrong's, ribs. He's good to go. Some
He
people
was
worried
gonna play.
about, Dylan McMahon in the NFL. He's good to go. Everyone's good to rock and roll. And I think that's really exciting, with what NC State is going to be able to do in the Pop-Tarts Bowl as it goes for win number 10, which we've talked about already on this podcast. It's a big deal. Dave Dorn talked about it again today. It's a big deal. I'd expect a very emotional Dave Dorn if that win number 10 does come.
It'd be a huge milestone for this program, but to get there, they're gonna have to. There's still a lot of talent on this team, Noah. And Kansas State is a solid program. They're going to poise a they're gonna be a challenging opponent for the Pack. I wanted to get your thoughts on Avery Johnson. Former borderline top 100 kid out of high school. He's from Wichita. Decided to stay home. 6'2" guy, a dual threat. 225 rushing yards on just 45 attempts, 6 touchdowns, and he's completed 23 of his 35 passes for 301 yards and 3 more touchdowns. So in limited snaps, very productive player. But no, I just wanted to get your thoughts on him. What do you think of Avery Johnson, and how is he going to test NC State's defense?
Yeah, he's played a little bit. It's not his first career game, so it's kind of, he's not going to have that kind of nerves. He's still going to be nervous, but he's a good runner. And I think that's going to be something that's going to test this defense, not only with him, but their entire offense. And you look at the running back they have, he's really good. I think that, the running game is going to be what's Kansas State's going to lean on, especially with the young quarterback throwing the ball.
Yep.
You're going to throw it. You're going to have to, you can't run the ball a million times, but we're going to see a heavy dose of the run. And I think that's exciting. And NC State plays pretty well against the run. So I think we're going to see, the team that's going to try to lean on its strength and a defense that is pretty good at defending that. And we'll see, again, we talk about Caden Fordham, but he'll be pretty big in the run defense playing in that Peyton Wilson role. And I think that'll be an interesting battle to watch. Avery Johnson versus Caden Fordham, two young guys that are the future of their programs on their side of the ball. And I think it'll be exciting.
It's almost kind of reminiscent of the UVA game, right? Where Caden Fordham was put into a huge role against another true freshman quarterback, Anthony Calandria for UVA, and it was mixed results. There was a few like jaw-dropping plays in that game where Caden Fordham really stood out and showed like why everyone in the Murphy Center is so excited about his potential. And then there were some times where he lost contain and he had one like critical personal foul penalty on in that game as well. So, I'm sure he's learned from that. We are a long time. No, that game feels like years ago to me. So, and I'm sure it does for Caden too. He's learned from that game, and he's going to take that experience into this matchup. Another mobile quarterback, and talking more about Kansas State's offense. My general train of thought for the past 2 years has been if if it's an offense that Tony Gibson can turn into a one-dimensional unit, then NC State's going to have a shot to win the game, and I think that's how this is going to work. I think they can focus on just pretty much stuffing the run game in any game where they've put that concerted effort, whether it was Louisville, Marshall, teams like that, teams with strong rushing offenses early in the season. UNC is another one. They've been able to do that. And they've done a good job of that just because there's a lot of talent on this team and Tony Gibson's a dang good coach. So they're going to turn them one-dimensional, I'd guess. And if that happens, I like NC State's chances in that matchup. And they will have to go against DJ Giddens, who's a dang good running back, and 6'1" sophomore, and he has over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns this year. But yeah, did I miss anything offensively? No. Is there anyone else, any other storylines you want to point out from Kansas State's offensive side of the ball?
Not really. I think they're just going to be, we're talking about the guys they're missing, but this is an opportunity for those guys in their two deep that are going to play. And I think that you can't count out of Kansas State. Yes, they're missing a lot of their star players. These are guys that are playing tomorrow, are ones that have been sitting and waiting their turn. They're going to come out with fire. They're going to be motivated to play.
Yeah.
Chris Kleiman talked about today, they've got a slot guy who's a sixth-year senior. He's going to be able to start and be also their return man. He's going to want to play, right? And I think that he's going to want to go with the bang. And so this isn't going to be one of those games where you show up to the field and, NC State feels like it's going to win. I mean, they may have that mentality, but it's definitely a game that if you don't play and they don't play well, or whatever it is, not stay focused on the game, then Kansas State will have a shot. And that's kind of one thing about these postseason games where you're playing with the second and third string guys. They're motivated to play. First of all, we're in Florida.
Yeah.
That's a fun place to be. Second of all, they're playing in a big game, so I think they're gonna have fun. It's two ranked teams, and then this offense is good. We saw what they did with Will Howard. Avery Johnson's the future of Kansas State football, and he's gonna want to make a good introduction. So defense does have its hands full. And the other thing to note, we haven't talked about this on the podcast, I don't think, but Tony Gibson with his reportedly new big contract that he got,
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
raise, 3-year deal, staying in Raleigh, which you think is a good sign for NC State, moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That was huge news. And one of the players that Tony Gibson is going to be scheming up to kind of best here is their left guard of Cooper Beebe. Just one more player I wanted to make sure we mentioned because he's one of the best offensive linemen in the country. He posted elite PFF marks this year. 82.6 grade overall. Yeah, that's amongst the best in the country. And his 90.2 pass blocking grade is one of the best in the country. He plays guard for them, and he's one of the best interior linemen out there. It will be tough to generate much of a push against him, but you know that front three of Brandon Cleveland, Davin Van, and Savion Jackson will have an interesting task in going up against them. And flipping to the other side of the ball, again, they're the number 2 team in the Big 12 in scoring defense. This is a talented unit, even though they are missing players. And I'm keeping my eyes on one matchup in particular, and that is Marcus Seigel. I apologize, Marcus, if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but he's Kansas State's leading tackler with 60 tackles this year, and he's also their slot cornerback, which is always a matchup we like to point out because that's who's going to be guarding Kevin Concepcion, NC State's best offensive player. Over 1,000 all-purpose yards this season. True freshman All-American, true freshman of the year, according to On3. So challenging matchup, as we all know, but Seigel's a good player right now. I mean, he allowed 28 receptions this year on 57 targets. That's pretty solid for a slot cornerback, and he's given up 13.6 yards per catch and a few touchdowns. But that's going to be something to keep an eye on. They're going to have to find creative ways to get KC involved in this game, and that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. And even with the guys they're missing, and they are missing quite a few, it's going to be a talented matchup because Noah, this team is they're 1 year removed from winning the Big 12 championship.
They are, and they're good. And I think this game comes down to defense. We're going to talk about them missing players and then missing a ton of guys in offense, but defense, where this game is going to be won on both sides, both for both teams. They play very similar defenses. The coaches talked about today how they workshopped together last year. They know each other pretty well. They
Yeah,
learned from each other. They shared ideas. Now it's like, oh, we shared ideas. The team we're playing. Oh well, it's college football. They're having fun with it. It's fine. But it's going to come down to that. NC State has a plus 11 turnover margin this year. Kansas State plus 10. Both teams are
yeah,
good at taking the ball away, and so I think that's going to be something to watch. Is taking care of the football. If you're Brennan Armstrong, he's done a great job the last 3 games at that, and he's got one more game to do it. He hasn't thrown an interception, hasn't fumbled the ball. He's played really, really well in doing that and getting the ball to the playmakers and keeping the ball with NC State. And I think that's going to be priority number 1 for NC State's offense in this game on Thursday evening.
I completely agree. If they take care of the ball and Tony Gibson's defense does what they always do, I think they'll be in a pretty good spot. And then we'll elaborate that on that and get into some predictions. But first, I wanted to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace where whether you're looking for tickets to this bowl game, to NC State's next basketball game, a Hurricanes game, whatever you are looking for, the Game Time app has it. Um, you know, I use the app a lot. I have it on my phone. You can find it on any app store, or you can just access the site through gametime.co on your web browser. That's gametime.co. And when you pull it up, it's very easy, very convenient. I have a Hurricanes game pulled up on my phone right now. And my favorite thing about it, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it on the screen right now, is it shows you the exact view that you'd be seeing from your seat. That's a step out of the ticket buying process that I really appreciate. They have tickets available right up until kickoff, puck drop, tip off. Just last minute ticket buying purchases. Game time's the way to go. And if you do check it out, use code Wolfpack. That's all caps Wolfpack on your first purchase, and you'll get $20 off. So pretty good deal. Check it out on any app store. It's the Game Time app, and you can find it on your web browser at gametime.co. All right, Noah, let's get into some predictions. Every week,
Good.
we like to, pick the spread, give our over unders, and kind of just make our predictions for this matchup. Noah, first, let's go with the spread. Where do you see NC State falling in this game?
They're going to cover because we're going to get to the prediction in a second, but they're going to win. But they're going to cover the spread. Last I saw was around 2.5. May have moved, but I'm pretty sure it's still around that. It was around that last night on our lovely drive. I think it's still
Mhm.
kind of around that.
Yeah, it looks like
It,
it's still at 2.5. So I'm with you. I think they're going to cover. I'm also picking them outright. We'll get to our score predictions in a second here, but yeah, I think they'll cover. And the over under right now is up 47.5. It's a bit of a high number, I think. But you have to take into account that Kansas State was scoring like over 37 points per game this season. They're a pretty elite scoring offense, and NC State's offense made some very positive strides down the stretch. Noah, if you were picking the over under, where would you side on that?
47 and a half. I'm going to go under. We're going to get to
Yeah.
that why, but I'm going to go under. I think barely, though. It's going to get close to that number, but Vegas usually knows something.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time. Let's give out our score predictions for the final time this year, Noah. It is our final round of predictions. I'll go first. We've been hinting at it throughout the show. I think NC State's going to make history Thursday. I think they are going to go into Camping World Stadium, and I think they are going to leave with their 10th victory of the season. I think they will win 28-17. I started out with a little more of a blowout, but I made it a little bit closer now that I've taken a little bit of a closer look at the talent still on the Wildcats roster. But I think this is going to be a game where NC State's going to be one of the most motivated teams in the country for its bowl game. This 10th win is going to mean a lot if they can win it. So I'm taking the pack here. I think they're going to come out motivated. I think Robert and I is going to have some tricks up his sleeve. Tony Gibson will have some wrinkles, and it's going to be enough to throw off a talented Kansas State squad and end up winning this game. And NC State will take a 6-game winning streak into the 2024 season. Noah, what do you say?
I say the Pack wins. We already mentioned that. They're gonna score 37-10. I think the offense gets rolling. The defense does its thing. It's too much to handle for Kansas State. NC State gets win number 10. Also his first bowl win under Dave Doran in a few years, which would be a good thing to do. He's lost his last 3. You could count 4 technically with it wasn't a loss. They just didn't get to play in the Holiday Bowl, which would have been an opportunity to win that game. But his last 3 games played on the field in a bowl, they have lost. So I think he turns it around, gets win number 10, gets that trophy that we saw in the Murphy Center. And if you stop by the Murphy Center, if you're one of those lucky people that can go inside, it's gonna be a great thing to look at. I think it's really cool. It's got they the Pop Tarts. I guess they're gonna have to change them out when they get stale. I don't know how that works, but we'll have to ask some of the Pop-Tarts Bowl reps. But yeah, 37-10 under barely hits at 47 instead of 47 and a half.
Awesome. Well, I think we obviously agree on the result, but I think Kansas State will make it a little closer than that. And just because it's a bowl game, and like you said, even though they're replacing a lot of guys, those guys will be motivated to play. I think it'll be a close contest, but yeah, I think this is it's everything is there. Everything is right there for the taking for NC State to go into an off season where they already have so much positive momentum, and that's been reflected on the recruiting trail, which we've talked about for our past few episodes here. But there's just a lot of good vibes around NC State. I'm sure they had a great time enjoying the sunny Orlando weather, and I think they're going to be locked in and come into this game and leave with a victory. All right, let's go through it. Every week, we like to predict the leaders in a few statistical categories before making one bold prediction to close out the show. Noah, to start us off, who's going to lead NC State in rushing on Thursday?
As the old motto says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Number 5 will lead them in rushing. Brennan Armstrong. He's done it almost every game this season. He's the leading rusher on the team as a whole. Last college game, he's going to lay some hits. Brennan Armstrong's going to run through somebody's face. It's going to be Brennan Armstrong.
Yeah, we saw for the first time in a long time, Brennan Armstrong slide feet first a few times against UNC because it appeared that he was dealing with some sort of rib injury or something where he didn't want to be taking the full force of the hits like he usually does. Now that he's had about a few weeks to relax and heal up, I'm expecting him to lower his shoulder. He's going to be fired up. I think it gets a little lost in his very chill and laid back demeanor. That man is a competitor. Dave Doran talks about it a ton. He loves that about him. Did he call him like a warrior or something at media availability today? So I think he'll come out and it's going to be motivated. It's going to be emotional for him. This is his last opportunity to start in college after a lengthy storied career and his first bowl game. So I think it is going to be a huge Brennan Armstrong game. And I know this wasn't a part of the show outline, but I'm going to predict him for the bowl game MVP too. I think he's going to have a massive game. All right. So what about receiving? Again, there's a safe pick here, as there has been every year. Kevin Concepcion, continues to dominate for the Pack. And Noah, are you going to be picking him to lead the team in receiving?
No, we're going to go against the grain a little bit. We got to spice up the podcast a little bit. So we're going to go. This is a little foreshadowing for the bold prediction later. But we're going to go with Dakari Collins.
Mm-hmm.
He came on strong at the end of the season. I like the Clemson transfer. He's a tall guy. They like that outside receiver, being his frame. He worked his way into the rotation by the end of the season. Some opt-outs, really didn't affect the wide receivers room too much other than Terrell Timmons. He's got, I think Dakari Collins takes another step, leads the team in receiving, big day going into next year, kind of gets that momentum rolling for him.
I'm so excited about next year's receiver room. I think it has so much potential, and Dakari Collins is going to be a big part of that. If you go into next season, you have Wesley Grimes and Dakari Collins as your outside receivers. Whew. But yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think he has. It was really encouraging to just see him make those concerted improvements throughout the year that the coaching staff was obviously looking for. But he could just put his head down and he worked and he got healthy and he worked hard, carved out his role, and he's really shined like pretty well like over the past few games. And I've been impressed with him. I know the staff has been too, and I think that's a great pick. I'll take the boring side then, and I will go with Kevin Concepcion. Like I said, I think this is going to be a good, sound Kansas State defense, but I think Robert and I is going to have some fun ways to get KC the ball. I feel like we've seen pretty much every way they possibly could over the course of this season, but I think it'll be a fun game plan. He's the accolades are here, Noah. Kevin Concepcion is no longer a mid 3-star, best kept secret in North Carolina coming out of Chambers High. He is one of the best wide receivers in the country, second team All ACC guy, and I'm expecting him to have a huge bowl game in his bowl game debut. All right, and now a little intrigue here. Who's going to lead NC State in tackling? Peyton Wilson off the board. So Noah, I'm interested to see who you pick here.
We're going to go with a guy who's good defender, plays all over the field. Peyton Wilson wasn't on the field when he led them in tackles earlier this season. Give me Sean Brown. He's a guy I think, we talked about him on our car ride up. We talked about a lot of things on our car ride up, but he came up. He's a guy we've really liked as a tackler. He had 12 tackles against Clemson, led the team, had 6 or 7 on the last drive playing in Peyton Wilson's role. He's obviously not going to be playing that linebacker spot against Kansas State, but I still think he's going to find his way all over the field and lead them in tackles.
Yeah, good pick. Yeah, like you said, we were talking about it yesterday. I think he's one of the best run support safeties in the country. It's hard to beat him. He's one heck of a player. But good pick. But I'm going to go with another guy we talked about how this game is probably going to be an emotional one for Brendan Armstrong. I'm going to go with Jalen Scott for a similar reason. He's another guy, like 6 years of college football. He's been here for a while. Well, I can't remember if it's 5 or 6 for Jalen, but anyways, he's been here a long time, played a lot of years with the pack, and it's going to be emotional. It's his last game in college football, and I'm going to pick him. He's someone that he's been consistent. He's stayed around that 8, 9, 10 tackle mark pretty much the entire year. And I think it'll be a game where he gets a few more opportunities, makes the most of them, and he leads NC State in tackling this week. All right, Noah. Let's wrap up the show here with bold predictions. Every week before a game, Noah publishes a story with 5 bold predictions. And this week, I'm interested to hear what you've got cooked up, Noah.
Yeah, they're going to be up Wednesday afternoon, evening time after we come back from the stadium for those that are listening when this podcast goes up. But we're going to, as I alluded to earlier, Dakari Collins, touchdown for the Pack.
I like it. Good pick. I'm gonna go with a little more of a bolder pick. I'm gonna go a lineman catches a touchdown pass. It's something we've seen from Robert and I at previous schools. I think, hey, maybe it's Isaiah Shirley um, gets put in as a blocking tight end and leaks out for a touchdown. Maybe I would like to see Anthony Belton get to run a route. I don't think anybody would be tackling him, so I'd be interested to see how that works. And I just think it's the bowl game. Let's try something fun. Let's see what Robert and I can cook up. I bet he'll have some fun plays. And so I'll go Super Bowl prediction: a lineman will catch a touchdown against Kansas State. All right, everybody. Thank you all for listening to our final preview show of the year. This has been a really, really fun season to cover, and we appreciate you following along. And we'll be back. We've still got plenty of basketball coverage, and recruiting never stops, so we'll always be here to talk about that. There's more transfer portal news coming, I promise. Just stay tuned, and stay tuned to our YouTube feeds. Like and subscribe, comment. The whole 9 yards there. And please go check out the wolfpacker.com. It is only $1 to join the site right now. All right. Thank you so much again. And, safe travels if you're headed down here for the bowl game. And we'll talk to you all soon.